Hey, what's going on guys, Bailey here, and welcome back to another Saints Row video, and I hope you are all doing well. So just yesterday, Game Informer followed to release further new gameplay footage of Saints Row, which gave us a look at 2 of the opening story missions. Now, this gameplay footage shows a great amount of the combat, driving, weapons, takedowns, and a lot more stunning features that will be in the game. So in today's video, I want to break down and discuss the new gameplay of these opening story missions for Saints Row and provide you guys with everything you need to know. So I hope you do enjoy this video guys, and if you do, don't forget to leave a like and be sure to subscribe to see more Saints Row videos from me in the future. So let's get into these details. So first of all, a huge disclaimer to everyone who is watching. The new gameplay that we will be looking at and breaking down is focused on 2 of the opening main story missions for Saints Row. So if you don't want this game spoiled for you, I suggest you pause the video now. Anyway, with that out of the way, Game Informer shared more gameplay of Saints Row, and this time it was on the opening main story missions. These story missions that feature in the new Saints Row gameplay are called Making Rent, followed by Idle Threat. The gameplay in a whole lasts for a duration of around 6 minutes, so there is plenty for us to cover here. So the gameplay starts with the player, aka the boss, starting one of the opening story missions called Making Rent. This mission takes place before the Saints are created and before the crew become a gang. At this point in the story, the boss, Nina, Kevin, and Eli are all roommates living together, and they are all low-level members of different gangs in Santa Aleso. We know from information that has been released already for Saints Row that the boss was a member of Marshall, Nina was a member of the Penteros, and Kevin was a member of the Idols. This story mission, Making Rent, has the boss and the crew try and make rent, as the name of the story mission implies. The crew decide to make rent by robbing a loan office called Payday, which seems to be a very fitting name. The mission starts off with the player leaving their apartment, and their current task is to talk to Nina. The player is also accompanied by both Kevin and Eli to start off with. We can see this by looking at the right hand side of the screen and seeing Kevin's and Eli's symbols. Additionally, we can also tell this by their blue blip indicators shown on the radar in the bottom left hand corner. Also on the radar, we can see that this purple icon with a bed symbol is our apartment. The apartment in this game will act as a place for the player to chill out, save their game, change clothes, and possibly make customization changes to members of the Saints, such as clothing and weaponry. Also, we have a yellow icon on the radar which appears to be a side activity. The apartment building that the player is leaving seems to be very run down, with pieces of the wall missing and graffiti everywhere, which tells us and emphasizes that the crew are starting from the bottom and they haven't got a lot of money. The player leaves the apartment building and we can immediately tell that we are in the Providencia district, which is home to the faction the Los Panteros. As the player leaves the apartment building, we get to see a neon sign for a building in the background which says Black Velvet Bar. This could possibly be a bar that we can visit while free roaming the game, that we could potentially visit with members of our crew. The player walks over to Nina, who seems to be working on this yellow car. The player speaks to Nina and she suggests that the player takes their car, but the boss responds and says it's too risky to take their car and instead suggests they'll steal one of the cars off the streets for their robbery on the loan office. After speaking to Nina, the mission objective in the top right hand corner changes to steal the car, and also Nina has now joined the player as a companion. The boss runs through the outdoor seating area of the Black Velvet Bar that we saw earlier and steals this yellow car parked on the street. A little cool attention to detail here, but in the background we have a pedestrian sweeping the floor outside of this building. I hope we see a lot more of the pedestrians throughout the city performing animations like this to give the game more life and to make exploring the world more immersive. The player enters this yellow car without having to break the windows or anything else. Once entering the car, straight away on our radar, we now have a waypoint to our new mission objective, which requires us to hit the Payday loan place. Kevin enters the blue car located at the front, Nina follows to enter the red car, and Eli joins us in the yellow car that we have just stolen. Although the game has set a waypoint to this mission objective on our radar, we're further assisted with driving to this location by the purple arrows on the road. We can also see that the player has a pistol equipped, which they'll be able to use when driving. Kevin drives off and Nina and the player follow closely behind. It seems from the gameplay that you don't have to follow Kevin or Nina all the way to the payday loan office. You can just drive to the mission objective yourself. As the player drives off, we can see a few more icons on the radar show. We can see an icon for a weapon store and a few clothes stores. Additionally, we are reminded in the bottom left hand corner of the map our location, which is West Providencia. Some things to note here is that when the player does start driving on the road, we do have a lot of shadows pop and fade in quite quickly, which seems very unpolished. However, we should remind ourselves that this gameplay is pre-alpha footage of Saints Row, and this could all be updated before the game is released. As the player drives and drifts for a brief moment, we do have a small icon on the right hand side of the screen fill up for drifting and near miss. This feature is similar to previous Saints Row games in which performing certain actions in the game would fill this bar up, which would help the player to level up to unlock new abilities and skills. The gameplay then cuts to after the crew has robbed the payday loan office, and their current mission objective is now to drive to your switch car. It seems like after the robbery, the crew want to lose police attention and head to the switch car they are prepared for this robbery, and to use that new car as their getaway vehicle. The player's vehicle also seems to be much more damaged after the robbery, which could be from whoever was playing wasn't the best driver, or after the robbery was being chased and attacked by someone. The player pulls around this corner and waits at the railroad crossing while the train passes, which is a really nice detail. As soon as the player pulls up at the railroad crossing, a police vehicle immediately turns on their sirens and starts chasing us. The player is now being chased by one police vehicle, which can be indicated by the red blip in the radar. Since the player is out of ammo for their pistol, the only choice they have to lose the police is to perform a sideswipe in their vehicle into them to round them off the road. The player then drives and heads into the industrial area of Santa Aleso. The gameplay cuts again and we are still being chased by the police in the industrial area. Our current mission objective has now changed to destroy the cop cars, as there are a lot more police cars chasing the player now. The game then gives us a button prompt on screen informing us on how to perform a sideswipe. To perform a sideswipe, the player needs to press X and then move the left analog stick into the direction we want to ram. The player rams one of the police vehicles and straight away it ignites into flames and loses control. We can also tell that the police vehicle was destroyed as its health bar is now empty. Again, the animations for this don't seem realistic at all, but this has always been the type of gameplay that Saints Row has embraced. So with these animations and some of the other ones we will see throughout the gameplay, this has always been the style of animations that the Saints Row games have implemented. Following on from this, the second police vehicle that was chasing the player is also rammed off the road and destroyed by using the same sideswipe feature. The gameplay cuts again, and this time we are in East Providencia. Our mission objective has now switched back to head to your switch car, as we have now lost the police. The player is driving through East Providencia, and we get a good look at this area of the map. This area of the map has a grittier, weathered down look to it. As we get closer to our destination, our mission objective changes to take your switch car. The player then turns onto this road leading into the scrapyard called Wreck City. The gameplay cuts to the player on foot in the scrapyard, walking towards their getaway vehicle. However, Nina's old gang, the Panteros, found out they were performing this robbery in their territory, and they are not happy with that. The Panteros have attempted to sabotage our robbery and have destroyed the getaway vehicle, making it undrivable. The Panteros then follow to attack the player and equip their weapons, which appear to be a crowbar and a pistol, and the player follows to do the same. We get a brief look at the player's weapon wheel here, showing us what weapons they currently have in their inventory. The mission objective then tasks us with killing the Panteros that are attacking us and the other enemies that are arriving at the scrapyard. The game also indicates to us the different type of enemies in the game and what weapons they use. As you can see, from the first enemy that attacks the player, before his health bar, he has an icon of a fist, and this enemy is using a melee weapon. Also, another enemy that attacks the player has an explosion icon and is using explosives. So this is a really cool indication for the player to know so that they can switch their weapons best suited for the enemy they are about to face. The player switches to the machine pistol SMG and follows to take down the rest of the Panteros arriving at the scrapyard. From this piece of combat we are seeing here, it also gives us an indication that our weapons that we have at the start of the game are not the strongest, as we see enemies sponge a lot of our bullets. It would seem that to make our weapons better, we will need to customize them as we advance through the game. We then have a Panteros faction vehicle arrive, which has a mounted gun on the back, which the enemies use to attack the player. One really cool thing about this mounted gun is the sound design of the gun firing. Just from the sound of this mounted gun firing, the weapon seems to definitely have a lot of power, so it's something that you'll want to take down quickly. The gameplay cuts, and this time we see the player on a dirt bike in the desert region of the map, making their getaway from the police. It seems like from the last gameplay footage we saw, the player has managed to escape using the dirt bike that was parked in the scrapyard. This mission objective is our final one to complete the story mission, Making Rent, and it now tasks us with escaping from the police, as they're now back on our tail and chasing us after hearing the gunshots from the scrapyard. There are a lot of police chasing us, but it seems that the dirt bike that we are using is a lot faster than their vehicles. It should also be noted that when you are using the dirt bike, you can do a bunch of tricks, which will also get you some experience, which will help you level up. We get a good look at the desert region from this moment of gameplay, and we can see many desert shrubs, desert greenery, rocks and cactuses. As with before, this is pre-alpha footage of Saints Row, so you will see a lot of the environment render in quickly as we are driving through the desert. We see the player drive up the slope and make this awesome jump across the desert to lose the police. The gameplay footage for this mission then ends, but we can assume that the player drives to their destination, and that is the mission end. So from that mission gameplay we got for Making Rent, we got to see a lot. My thoughts on that mission from what we got to see, and from the commentary from the guys at Game Informer we're discussing, it seems to be a great introduction to the crew's first criminal activity together, and how they're already creating enemies with some of the other factions in the game. Although the robbery doesn't go according to plan, it seems like the Saints pull it off in style, as they do best. So moving on to the next opening story mission gameplay, this one is called Idle Threat. We've already seen a piece of gameplay of this mission from the wingsuit gameplay that was also released by Game Informer, and this is also shown in this footage that you're about to see. So this mission has the player tasked with rescuing Kevin, who has been taken hostage by the Idols, which was his former gang. The Idols have taken Kevin hostage as they think Kevin was betraying them. The mission starts off with the player arriving at this bar to possibly ask the Idols if they know where Kevin is. It seems that the Idols are not willing to help the boss, so the boss decides to take things into their own hands. However, it looks from what the boss has started that a massive bar fight breaks out, and the Idols and some of the people in the bar start fighting each other. It looks like while you are at the bar and at this moment in the mission, you can only use your fists to attack the enemies. We see the player exchange punches with some of the Idols and some of the other people in the bar who have decided to get involved. After exchanging a few punches, the player heads outside and equips their AR-55 burst rifle to take down a few of the Idols who have arrived at the bar. This point of the mission requires the player to take down the waves of Idols that are arriving at the bar. During this gunfight, we can see the Idols throw these colourful smoke grenades, which look really cool and make the gameplay really nice and vibrant. The player then briefly opens the weapon wheel, and we get to see the rest of the weapons in their inventory. We can see that the player currently has a machete, a revolver, a machine pistol SMG, a police shotgun, and an RPG. After this, the player performs this really cool takedown on this idol and attaches a grenade to them, and then throws them at another idol to take them both down, which we can see from this really awesome explosion. Once the gunfight has concluded, we're tasked with finding the survival idol member who seems to have taken cover in this portaloo. The gameplay cuts, and straight away we are greeted to this mayhem of the player driving through the idol camp and destroying all of it using the portaloo that the surviving idol member was in, using the Portaloo as some sort of wrecking ball to do even further damage. This gameplay is super cool as the player is just driving through this huge idols camp, destroying all of their tents and stands. So the boss is doing this because the surviving idol that was in the Portaloo wouldn't talk and tell us where Kevin was. So the boss took it upon themselves to attach the Portaloo to this vehicle and to destroy the idols camp. So the more we destroy the idols camp, the more the yellow bar in the top left hand corner fills up. Also, you can see that we're not just destroying the idols camp, but there are idols attacking us. However, we're taking them down very quickly with our vehicle and our Portaloo wrecking ball. The gameplay then cuts to the wingsuit gameplay that we've already seen, so I won't be covering this in today's video. However, if you do want a breakdown of this gameplay footage that you're about to see, be sure to check out my other Saints Row video on this, and I'll put a link in the description box down below for that breakdown. So after the gameplay that we've already covered, we get to see the player storming this idol mansion and taking down idol after idol to find Kevin. This mansion seems to be full of idol enemies, but the player has no problem of taking them all down. As the player advances further into the mansion, we get to see more of the mansion and all the really cool vibrant lights and graffiti on the walls. The gameplay cuts again to the player advancing into the idol's mansion, and we see them here take down another idol using the same takedown we saw earlier of the player attaching a grenade to them and launching them into another enemy. Now, the way these takedowns work is that the Saints logo that you see in the center of the screen will fill up as you take down more enemies. Once the meter has filled up completely, you can take down an enemy by selecting RB, which can be seen in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. I really appreciate and like these takedowns that the game has, as it keeps the gameplay exciting and unique at all times, rather than just constant gunfights. Jumping back into the gameplay, the player continues to take down all the idols in the mansion, and we come across this enemy who appears to be dual wielding these electronic batons, which they will to attack us with. It seems like this enemy can deflect our bullets too. This is great to see that different enemies in the game will have different fighting animations, and we will hopefully be seeing a nice variety of this throughout the game. The player falls to take down this enemy the same way we've seen before with the grenade and throw. After this, that concludes all of the new gameplay that we got to see of the opening story missions for Saints Row. So that was all the new details and a breakdown of all the new features that were in the new opening story mission gameplay that was released. I'm super happy with this gameplay that we got to see, because it showed off a variety of different gameplay features that I'll be able to use while playing throughout the game. The game has a lot of features available that should keep the game exciting and interesting at all times. Then again, I say this, but we've still only seen a brief glimpse of what this game has to offer. We've not seen much in relation to character customization, vehicle customization, the business opportunities available, the side activities, the air vehicle gameplay, and so much more. I'm really excited to finally see this whenever it is released and see how it all works. So what do you think of the new gameplay of the opening story missions in Saints Row? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? What would you change? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd like to hear your thoughts and to get a nice discussion going, which I'll be sure to jump in on. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like. Also, if you do enjoy content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button and click on the bell icon to turn on notifications so you don't miss my next upload. Also, don't forget that you can check me out streaming over on Twitch during the week, and you can find a link to my channel in the description box down below. Be sure to drop by and get involved. Thanks again for watching, take it easy, and I'll catch you next time.